Hello and welcome back. I am 13 and we are playing one of my pet decks tonight. So this is a deck that has never really worked out, but hopefully Ren and 6 will push it over. This is a deck that I've tried to build up, not necessarily master, but at least make usable over the years. The reason Jund works and Golgari works is because it's got a lot of low to the ground, efficient creatures. It gets to the point that everybody's top deck and you already have a threat on the table, and this deck is trying to throw that out the window with the exact same shell. What we're playing tonight is Gitrock, and yes, I'm well aware that we're splashing red for Ren and 6, so this is technically Jund, but we're working with a lands package on top of the Jund shell. So I assume you're just going to have to watch this and realize how horrible this is going to go downhill with a lot of really powerful cards that don't necessarily work right together. But this is what I'm working on. I've literally sat across the table from several people who have been playing Jund for years. I'm like, what can I do to make this work? I've tried doing Bobs, a full suite of Life from the Loams. I've tried Seismic Assault. There are things that can go into the shell, and I just haven't found a build that's flexible enough to actually do okay in an open format like Modern. So if you have comments, I would love to hear them, but I'm going to break down what I am currently at and see if we can go from there. So, first and foremost, this is the Jund shell. We are going to win games by discarding what opponent's doing, putting out a Termagoyf, slamming a Liliana, and just closing the table there. This is very powerful. It works. It does great things, but not having as many support cards here makes it a little painful. So, what we're trying to do is put a lands package on top of this, which is Gitrock Monster. I love this guy. So he's 5 mana for 6/6 Death Touch, well undercosted, well above the vanilla test. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice the monster unless you sacrifice a land. You may play an additional land every turn, and then whenever a land is put into your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. This turns fetch lands into draw a card, as well as just churning through your deck, being a threat. The guy is amazing, but it's been a little hard finding home for him in Modern. I've tried Heartless Summoning, I've tried a couple of different things, but this is supposed to be the tech for this deck, so let's move past that. Up next is Ren and 6. Return target land from your graveyard to your hand. With a fetch land, this is amazing. With cycling lands, it's the best. Cycling lands turn into draw 2s. We get to pick it back up with Ren and 6. We get to draw 2 more. We just have a ton of cards on top of an efficient shell. Then Ren and 6 has the ability to ping your opponent's things. This will come up versus a lot of mana dorks. It does host a lot of strategies. I've been playing a lot of janky decks and been like, if my opponent has Ren and 6, we're just going to get steamrolled. Like, this is a very powerful card. There's a reason he's so expensive. Then M20 did give us the last piece I'm playing with tonight. That's going to be Elvish Reclaimer. 1 mana for a 1/2, very cost effective. He gets +2/+2 as long as there are 3 more land cards in your graveyard. Noticing this pattern here? Yeah, this is what we're doing. It's lands, lands, lands. Then you can pay 2, sack a land, search your library for any land card, put it into the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle it to your library. So this is a consideration card for legacy lands. It can go get the Dark Depths combo. We're not really getting any busted single of lands, but it is the ability to put a land into our graveyard to draw a card, hopefully go get like a fetch land. And there's tap, but next turn we get to sack it, and he could just be a 1 mana 3/4. Great. But to back that up, we're also running a lot of the similar Golgari cards. Assassin's Trophy, just conditionless removal. Tireless Tracker is, again, card advantage plus great synergy with our land cards. And then we are running 24 lands and 4 Birds of Paradise because we want to get a Tireless Tracker on 2. We want to be able to Red and 6 and discard. We want to be able to just slam a Lily on 2. And more importantly, we have a Gitrock Monster at 5 mana. So that's the deck. We're going to try to do some fun stuff here. I've tried so many different renditions of this. I've had more creature lands. I've been running 4 Loams. Bob was actually pretty good until I tried putting Gitrock back on the top. Then it's lose 5. And it's gone everywhere. We are running a Nissa Vital Force just because lands are a thing. We're essentially going to draw a lot of cards and have really cheap, efficient threats, and yeah, hoping to land some people to death here. Well, this is a hand. We have both Scoozes. This hand could be great depending on how good Scooz is, but we have Inquisition, Assassin's Trophy, a threat. Like, I'd prefer to see a better starting threat, but this is fine. Can't complain about that. And I am leaving the Wooded Foothills in hand in case we need to get red for our Ren and 6. Okay, so this is old school Amulet Titan. They're going to use Hive Mind and then cast one of these pack cards, and then we'll lose. Amulet is their enabler, so Amulet goes away. They do have a bounce land, a Azusa, and Hive Mind. Honestly, not a ton going on. This is something we can beat. Assassin's Trophy is also really good versus the bounce lands because they have to return one to hand. It's just great tempo. Same with the Field of Ruins and Ghost Quarters. So being land destruction's pretty great here. If they do end up Summoner's Pacting, there's a chance that we can win just because we get rid of their green sources. Ooh, and there's a Tormagoyf. Okay, well, opponent's not really going to pressure our life total. They can kill us pretty quickly with a Prime Time, but I'm just going to get my red source here. They're not going to care about our lands, and I don't know what's on the top. If I top deck a Ren and 6, I want to be able to play my land for turn. Then Goyf is bigger right now, so Goyf gets to come out. Opponent did top deck the Garden for turn. Suspended a Lotus Bloom. Alright. I guess I can pop that out. That is relevant battlefield information. There's the Boros Garrison. So they have the Kalani Garden in hand. Then they're not going to have a Zuva next turn, so I feel pretty confident in just attacking here. Then I'll run out the Birds of Paradise, just get my mana ramp on, and then we can have up a Assassin's Trophy. We can trophy during their draw step, and they won't be able to Hive Mind very quickly. Alternatively, we just hit their bounce land and set them back a full turn. Assassin's Trophy would be an instant for the yard. There might even be a world where they'd have to have a Steve. That doesn't work. I was going to say Assassin's Trophy a creature, but I can't hit my Birds of Paradise, so just growing Goyf would be relevant. Alright, opponent's trying to piece it together. They did draw a new card for turn, but we have near perfect information. They drew an Opt. So I think that tank there was trying to figure out if it was worth the Gemstone Cavern counter to Opt. Ooh, that's quite bad. So I'm going to have to trophy that just because that can win them the game. Then I can Scooze and trophy here. That Lotus Bloom will eventually become a problem. Unfortunately, if they cast Hive Mind, then they have the instant speed spell. I'm still going to have the trigger to lose the game at upkeep. Right now I can pay for Summoner's Pact, but not a great position to be in. That Opt did grow my Goyf. What's the bigger threat here? The Amulet or the Lotus Bloom? Because the Amulet's adding 2 mana. Lotus Bloom's going to add 3. Opponent will be at 4 next turn, so then a Bounce Land or the Lotus Bloom have the same effect. So guess that means we're just going to be on blowing up Amulet, and I'm going to do that before they can potentially draw into any more counter magic. Because I know their entire hand at this point, so may as well just go for it, meow. Yep, you're going to get your Lotus Bloom. Kalani Garden gets to fog the Goyf. There is a little bit of a cost to not having Thoughtseize deck when your opponent's rocking a Hive Mind. Tranquil Thicket. So I can play this and Gitrock the following turn. That doesn't really help me at all. I'm going to look for a discard spell. Keep going. I mean, honestly, even a push here is kind of okay. A push would just get rid of the plant token. I'd end up hitting for 6. Although that means I can't run out this scoos now, so that's probably not great for me. Bird, you get to stay back. You're going to have the heroic task of casting a Scavenging Ooze this turn. And we might have just been a little slow, which is kind of what this deck does. I was alluding to it in the deck tech, but I didn't put my tap land out. Honestly, it doesn't matter, though. Opponent's likely just going to kill us here. Guess technically I should have ran it out in case opponent does actually go for the Hive Mind kill here. It's also possible they just go for the Summoner's Pact. Ouch. Yep, not hitting that land means I'm not going to be able to rebuild at this point. There's also some consideration to not show an opponent the Gitrock monster, just because Gitrock means we're going to be doing some graveyard shenanigans. They've already seen all the other pieces to know we're on Renin 6. Yep. Bye, threats. Bye-bye. Opponent should be running at least 2 of the Talaria West Academies, so they can Summoner's Pact for a prime time and then go grab Summoner's Pact or EE. Inquisition. Alright, well, I want to fire this off at least for the Summoner's Pact. It's possible opponent casts a Summoner's Pact here. Alright, well, they don't have anything else going on. Not playing the land last turn actually didn't get punished, because even if I had the mana for Gitrock there, I would have Inquisitioned. An opponent found a Zuza. So they can double Ghost Quarter me, but that honestly doesn't matter. They can technically Sun Home, but they're not going to use all of their mana for that. This is slightly interesting. This is a utility land. They should have at least one more in the deck if they find a prime time, but I wouldn't be too surprised to see them copy Underground Tomb or Blooming Marsh here. Maybe just the additional blocking land. Yep, they went for the little dork. It does make sense they're not running out Hive Mind, just because... Ooh, that's what we wanted. There's our friendly neighborhood Gitrock monster. Rar, buddy, rar. I am looking for... Assassin's Trophy is fine. Red and 6 is good. Assassin's Trophy gets some work done. So, since I'm not going to be casting anything this turn, I just get to Overgrown Tomb. And opponent can try to kill us here. Honestly, a Birds of Paradise isn't bad. They do run a couple of the other packs, like a Pact of Negation will kill us here. If we find another Birds of Paradise, we can actually pay for it. Alright, well, they found something. Cashing out the Lotus Bloom typically means 6 CMC plus. Opponent actually has 7 mana on the table, so likely dead here. They give the creature double strike, haste, vigilance, and Gitrock can eat up 6. We would still end up taking... I think they end up buffing it to be an 8/8. So trample 2 over, hit me for 10. Okay, we might not be dead yet. They did use one of their Vesuvas already, so they can't give +2 twice. But they can go get a Talaria West and... Oh, no amulet. I killed 2 amulets. That makes sense. So they just get a slow roll here. Haste Vigilance, and then they can't activate this. I really don't want to trade my Gitrock for the Prime Time. Guess it depends on what they grab. Okay, so they got Grultorf and the Slayer Stronghold, bounce the Slayer Stronghold. I was just yielding to the trigger, so they can get... Yep, Talaria West and a bounce land, so they can go tutor for a 1 CMC thing. I'm sorry if that made noise. Rocky jumped on my cable. They cannot do Sun Home, so by all means, opponent, you do you. Oh, nope, don't actually want to do that. I needed to float a mana for this Assassin's Trophy, but that's fine. I get to play 2 lands for turns, so let's Ghost Quarter first. I want to take out the Double Striker. That's the biggest threat to me. Hopefully drawn to a Wrenn and 6 so I can pick up Ghost Quarter again. Doesn't look like we're that lucky. Then fetch land just so I can fetch. We'll go get a basic forest here. There's our Birds of Paradise. And opponent does have a Talaria West as well as 2 blue, which means they get attacked with 2 Primeval Titans next turn, which means Gitrock will be blocking now. So I need to stay on defense. I could have technically blown up the Stronghold here so that the second Primetime wouldn't have haste. I don't think that solves any problems for me, though. They went for a Pact of Negation. Interesting. So a Wrenn and 6 can be lethal here. A Wrenn and 6 blow up their other blue source. They won't be able to pay for it. I guess a Field of Ruin could technically do that too. Alright, well, I am going to offer the trade for Gitrock Monster now. Because it can technically negate my Assassin's Trophy. They played the Talaria West? That doesn't make much sense. Okay. I have to think about how the triggers are stacked here. So they get to Pact of Negation. I can pay for it. If I Assassin's Trophy, though, they Pact of Negation my Assassin's Trophy. I get the trigger on top to counter their Pact of Negation, and I have to pay for my trigger. So that all should be okay. But I'm waiting until my upkeep for the Assassin's Trophy. Because they can technically... No, I have to do it now because they can Assassin's Trophy one of my birds. What is the correct way to do this? I think I have to blow this up, figure out where they're sending their Assassin's Trophy. The fact they can hit my birds and I don't have a blue mana to get is probably losing us the game here. But they assembled the Hive Mind combo, so that's fine. They hit my red source. Okay. Yep, that's fine. Um, so I blow that up. And they shouldn't have another one. So Hive Mind goes away. They could have killed me there if they blew up my Birds of Paradise. And I drew my Wrenn in 6. I guess they can technically still kill me here if they can double activate that Slayer Stronghold. But without an Amulet and a Vezuva, I don't think they can pull that off. Actually, with just a Vezuva, they can. So they'd activate it, play the Vezuva, pick it back up, and do it again. So I'll see if they end up coming to that conclusion. If not, we might have a shot here. Wrenn in 6, just continuously picking up our cycling land should be pretty good value still. All right, what you got? You have another prime time. So, Vigilance and Haste, that's game. Post board, we get fun things like Surgical Extraction for combo. Choke actually doesn't do a whole lot versus them. Force of Vigor is fantastic. And Collector Oof is a consideration for Lotus Bloom. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is a consideration. Let's figure out what we're cutting first, because I don't think we're cutting a lot. We are going to cut some, but not a lot. Opponent's likely going to be bringing in Graveyard Shenanigans, so Life from the Loam can go away. Elvish Reclaimer also probably isn't the best. I kind of just want to keep a lean shell. Fatal Push can target Azusa, but that's probably not good enough here. I think I'd prefer to have the Reclaimers as just something to come down a little bit faster. And like a What Of Oof probably isn't bad. Otherwise, we just need a little bit of a faster clock. We interacted with opponent well enough. We just didn't get a strong enough win condition, and opponent... I played into their EE. That should have been a consideration. I just haven't played against this deck in a little bit. Plague Engineer can name Plant. I don't think that's good enough. We probably would have killed opponent if they didn't get 2 plant tokens, but turn 3 for a Plague Engineer just isn't good enough. Force of Vigor also hits the Hive Mind. But I think that's the most I can do. Life from the Loam, continuously pick up Ghost Quarter and Field of Ruin is great. I don't know, would I prefer that over Reclaimer? Probably not. If we're grinding, they have more deterministic kills than we do. It's going to take a while to filter through all their lands, and then when they do, just... they would have killed us long before that. Alright, like to play first. This is a... so this is actually going to have to be a Birds of Paradise on 1 to blow up their Amulet if they play Amulet on 1. But we have a Field of Ruin to blow up their second land on turn 2 if they go to bounce it. So I'm okay to hang on to this. We don't have any specific graveyard hate, and we have the double Scoozes again when they're not super relevant in this matchup. But I'm okay with these cards. Lotus Bloom suspended, so 2 of them. Top deck Oof, please and thank you. This looks like it gets to just be Scavenging Ooze and Birds of Paradise 2.0. This start from opponent typically means that they're going to use their 1 mana to play an Amulet and then a bounce land, but we just showed them a Field of Ruins, so that's less likely to happen. Looks like it's still just a bounce land. That Talaria West is a pretty decent target to blow up, though, since it gets to tutor anything in their deck that they care about. We are Birds of Paradise, Reclaimer, Assassin's Trophy, or Scooz. Well, first things first. Goose is getting in. Then blow up the land, get 1 mana back, birds and reclaimer. That actually seems like the best line. Let's go grab us a forest. Birds of Paradise. Reclaimer. Then if they EE on 1, they get a ton of our stuff, like an absolute ton of it. But they won't be able to blow it up this turn, so we'll have an Assassin's Trophy to protect. If they get it any later than that, it's not fast enough. Look at that. Called it. So I can sack, put a land in the yard. I can't get a third one in yet. I think that just puts me on attacking. So attack, attack. I have plenty of mana, so that gets to enter tapped. We're going to blow this up, meow. Then Scoos 2.0, see if they have another EE. Opponent can primetime here, but they shouldn't be able to kill us with primetime. Wrath of God. Wow. That is a thing. That is completely a thing. Luckily, we can still play just about everything in our deck, but opponent has 4 cards in hand. They're going to have 6 mana next turn. This one probably got away from us because, seriously, Wrath of God? I mean, technically, Lily could still do this. They're going to have to figure out how to get Primetime into play and make it attack Lily. Otherwise, I just get them to sack it. Suspends the other Lotus Bloom. Like, for real? I mean, to be fair, that is how they beat us game 1, but that's still super shenanigan-y. Alright, Primetime's going to go get a bounce land, pick up the Tolaria West, probably 2 blue sources here, just so that they can actually pay for Pact of Negation if they have one in hand. Also pay for the transmute cost on Tolaria West. Single blue source. The Garden protects the Primetime, so I am looking for Fatal Push here or another Lily of the Veil. That's a land. And I'm good to scoop it up there. We're not coming back from that. Alright, well, I am actually just going to put a pause on streaming. Rocky needs to go out. We don't have a ton of people online at the moment, so I will check back in for Twitch. And YouTube, you should just get cut ahead. And I was muted. Fantastic. All right. Well, this is the hand. Thank you, Magic Gods. We have a cycling land. We have our Birds of Paradise. We have a Renin 6. Gitrock monster. This is what we're looking for. All right. Mr. Birds, you're up. Do bird things. Yeah, welcome to the Thunderdome, though. Getting Wrath of God from Amulet. Okay, so likely what we have to do here is ping the Noble Hierarch. Bolt the bird is the old saying, but this is looking like Devoted Druid over there, so we gotta take care of you. No fun for you. Only us. This Verdant's going to go grab us a Blood Crypt tapped. We get to run out the Scoos, eat the Noble. Looking a lot like Devoted Druid. 2 Nobles and an Ancient Stirring. So this actually might be eggs. Not eggs. Oh, I saw this on Reddit. It's just a Karn deck. Sad Panda. Alright, well, keep them off 4 mana. We'll be sad people. I am going to represent the most amount of options here with a fetch land and a Birds of Paradise, although we're going to get a tap land and eat the Noble. Or we could just get a Forest and eat both Nobles. Alright, well, regardless of how this goes down, we're going to be on Collector Roof out of the side. And seeing as how they're trying to ramp up something big, I'd prefer to just close the game out. So let's eat both Nobles here. I don't think our life total is actually that relevant, but gotta go for what we can go for. Pick up Verdant. Then slam opponent for 4. May as well get a basic swamp here since we have to tap out for it. And the Gitrock monster! So even if they Karn, we kill it this turn. But this is the dream. Eldrazi. Alright, this is probably a weird taxes list with Stoneforge and Karn in it then? So they do get to activate the Displacer, which means Gitrock's probably not attacking this turn. Either that or they're going to shrink the Scavenging Ooze. But we float our mana here, we sack the Swamp, we draw, then we cycle, we draw 2. Well, Inquisition's helpful, but it doesn't actually get Karn. So I think I want a Peatland. Peatland would make it so I draw 2 off of 1 mana. That leaves me with 3 mana up in case I find actual removal. A lot of lands. That is a lot of lands. Well, we get to play 2, so let's crack this, see what we draw into. We found another Inquisition, so we can kind of empty our opponent's hand here. May as well get a tap land, it doesn't matter. Then let's take a look at you. Karn and lands. Alright. Let's go to combat. Opponent blinking Gitrock. Perfectly acceptable. Then this Birds of Paradise is coming out. In case they want to flicker both, they can kill Renin 6, but that's all they're really going to get out of it. Oh, I misplayed there. I should have cycled the Baron more a little while ago just to try to find a removal for the Displacer. In fact, I probably should have just ran out 2 regular lands and kept the Peatland in hand. But if opponent makes their land drop, which they have 2 lands that they can play, they can double displace the birds and kill Renin 6, but then they're dead on the backswing. They can run out Karn and get something like Liquid Metal Coating, but that's not going to do anything against our current board state. Prismatic Vista down. That also likely means that they're doing something with all their mana. Otherwise, they would probably Karn and leave up the ability to crack with Horizon Canopy. So probably getting a Sorcerer's Spyglass here would be my best guess. Oh, nope. Plus with no home. All right. Well, we get to draw 2. There's a Reclaimer. And a lot of lands. Whole lot of lands. I'm actually going to eat something from their side if we don't draw into anything good here. So let's just sack the basic forest. That's a Lily of the Veil. Okay. Probably land is most relevant out of their yard at this point. And that's a Fatal Push. Sometimes it is really good to draw what you need. So thanks to Gitrock, we've already actually hit the Revolt for Fatal Push. So let's go ahead and just pick up Barrenmore. Then, yeah, whatever. We'll go for the push. They can flicker probably Gitrock. Then I'm actually just going to kill Karn here. So I get a Lily plus. Yep. This is going to be Lily of the Veil. Plus discarding the Reclaimer. Reclaimer is technically a threat here, but I think getting rid of the only card on their table is going to be worth it. So we get to eat the Displacer. Then I'll just go for a basic. We're drawing enough cards with Gitrock Monster. I might actually have to discard a hand size as it is anyway. Grab our Forest. We'll eat our Reclaimer. Then kill Karn, just so that they can't lock us out of the game. Then, sure, let's actually just go get our basic Swamp and cycle Barrenmore at instep. And this is value. This is the value right here. There is no competing with this. You have a Stoneforge Mystic, by all means, opponent. You can go get a sword, or if you have a land in hand, yeah, yep, you got it. Okay, Collector Roof, 100% coming in. This is basically Eldrazi. Plague Engineer is a consideration just to shrink their stuff. Force of Vigor's in. Lily Last Hope, is this worth it? We can't kill a Stoneforge Mystic. We can pick up a creature, but that's not very relevant. Surgical Extraction could technically do some stuff. They're not necessarily a combo deck, though. I also don't think they showed us any 1CMC things, so I should be concerned about Chalice of the Void. Yeah, they had a Mind Stone. I'm willing to bet that they're on Chalice of the Void, so probably going to look at cutting their Reclaimers here. They just don't block very well. They're the relevant colors. Then Skooz probably feels like the least relevant creature here, and we're bringing in the Oofs. Skooz can eat whatever they have, though, but they can flicker it. I don't like when I have to invest into a creature and then the opponent can reset the table, so probably looking at this lineup. If I brought in Plague Engineer, it would probably be for Inquisition, and my curve already looks pretty atrocious. If I sort by this, yes, this is technically going to be free, but we're very high on our curve, so I'm good to submit it like that. Here's hoping opponent moles and commits a full hand to Chalice on 1, and we just have a Force of Vigor. I mean, a quick Stoneforge Mystic without a Fatal Push could go very poorly for us. We can grind late into the game, but okay, this is fine. If it is a Chalice on 1, we have an Assassin's Trophy on 2. Otherwise, it's a Lily of the Veil on 3. Probably make them sack their Stoneforge Mystic. Plus, like, card count is just such a big thing for these decks. We're not running the full discard package to try to make room for our shenanigans, but okay. Wrenn 6. They can try to blind name a land. Could be Lily. Wrenn 6. Alright. I mean, yes, that did make our deck work last time, but that's not really how we win this game. And if we find one, we have an Assassin's Trophy, so by all means. Opponent has a Thought Knot, though. That's kind of a problem. We'll see what they take. They went for the Assassin's Trophy. That's an interesting call. Assassin's Trophy ramp them, and Lily gets to stick around on the table. Maybe they're just really afraid of Ren and 6. Like, we got our combo going pretty quick last time. That was a turn 4 assemble, turn 5 just explode. Opponent, anytime. There we go. This is going to go get us a Blood Crypt at some point in time. I have the double black. The Field of Ruin's likely not relevant. Oh, this setup means that I'm looking at a Reality Smasher next turn. So they're willing to trade the Thought Knot for a Lily downtick, but they're going to kill Lily regardless. Yeah, whatever. We came here to do Jund things, and Lily of the Veil is on the top of my what I like to do in Jund things. And a peatland. So maybe the 24 lands is too many. Her synergy just requires it so badly, but when like a fourth of your deck are lands, not a fourth, significantly less than that. I'm sorry, I'm not even thinking through what's going on. I was just evaluating Reality Smasher, thinking of top decks. 24 of 60 is close to half, so further than a third. We can, if I Field of Ruin here, then opponent can't Reality Smasher. They didn't make a land drop. No, that was their turn 3, so they did. If they don't have a land drop, they can't Thought Knot Seer again. I can Field of Ruin, run out the Birds of Paradise, or Field of Ruin, hold up the Peatland for instep. No, because Field of Ruin would be my play for turn. Let's just go for the Eldrazi Temple. I technically didn't have to tap this Birds, but whatever. I'm not blocking with it. At least not a Reality Smasher or anything with haste they can generate. And I want a Swamp, just because I have a basic forest in hand. Kind of a non-issue there. I guess this does telegraph that I don't have a Fatal Push. Alright, opponent's going digging. I should have known the Ancient Stearns with the Brushland was Eldrazi. It could have been Bant, it could have just been green-white, but I should have known it was Eldrazi. So, opponent may have whiffed on a land there. Or just may have thought that Karn was good enough that they didn't need a land. They should eventually find a land. And the mana does not fail to generate. Force of Vigor. That's technically a thing. Of note, I cannot Birds of Paradise and Force of Vigor. If opponent Stoneforges, they won't have enough mana. I can cast this against Mycosynth Lattice. I had not come to that conclusion yet. Alright, whatever. You get a turn, opponent. Birds of Paradise down. We have seen 2 non-mana generating cards in our hand. Another Stirrings. That might have been why they waited on Karn, was because they only had the 1 green source, but they knew that they'd have a land in their top 6. Yep, we take 5. I mean, this is going to put some work in. It is a real clock. And a Fatal Push. I should have had a Dryad Arbor in the list. I don't think it's relevant at this exact moment, but I should have had one. Now we're looking at a top deck just to beat the Reality Smasher. There's a Stoneforge Mystic. I will be pushing this at instep. Opponent, it's pretty safe for them to assume that we have it in our deck, but it means that a Liliana the Vel will make them sack the Reality Smasher, which feels relevant enough to me that I need to be able to fire this off now. I guess I won't have a follow-up play, but opponent goes and gets sort of Feast and Famine. That is the more relevant color. I'm fetching just to thin the deck. And a Birds of Paradise. So I could technically run out birds and multi-block, but that requires showing Force of Vigor so that I can actually block the pro-green. Opponent just gets it. We will go to game 3 and hopefully not draw 1.5 million lands. Plague Engineer wouldn't have been relevant there. Death Touch would have been relevant, but I don't know, maybe try this. I want fetch lands so I can actually tutor them. These fast lands only do so much with Gitrock and Nissa in the deck. I can see maybe doing this. That takes a fetchable land out of our deck. I don't know, we'll give it a shot. This cannot cast Wrenn and 6, but it does have the Collector Oof if that's what our opponent's trying to do to start, as well as multiple good draws. I'm willing to give this a shot. I'm expecting opponent's removal to be Dismember or Path to Exile. They haven't shown us a path yet. I also think they're on Chalice. They still haven't shown us anything in that low CMC, and Chalice is the only reason Eldrazi is technically a thing. This is potentially one of those moments where people need to yell at me and being like, you should have kept that hand, this specific timestamp. I'm willing to hear that I'm making bad decisions, but I want to know why you think that, as well as what exact moment, so I can try to improve on that, as opposed to just being like, well, they said I need to do better, but I can't do that without input. Love a fetch land here, just like absolutely adore a fetch land. You gonna name Wrenn and 6 again? You don't know how many we have. I guess they figured out we are a land stack. Opponent actually did put out an Eldrazi Temple. We have a redundant Collector Oof. Yeah, I'm going to run out the birds. If opponent's on Thought-Knot next turn, our hand is moderately redundant. And I care more about successfully deploying an Assassin's Trophy if need be than just getting out a 2-2 this turn. And if opponent's plan is to Stoneforge Mystic right now, that will change if they see the Collector Oof. Also, if I top deck a land, that means I get a Field of Ruin and actually Collector Oof or Wrenn and 6. Which is not something I can do at this exact moment. Look at that. Called it. Fetch land would make me happy. I can hit their Eldrazi Temple because they probably don't have another one. That's acceptable. So, Field of Ruin, Shock. Then I get to Collector Oof. And hold up the Assassin's Trophy. Or do I just run out the Wrenn and 6? If opponent gets to equip, I lose this game. And that is a way I can lose this game, so I need to take that evaluation and run out the Collector Roof. I can't imagine opponent is on a board clear. I have to imagine they're either on Path if they're not running Chalice, or on Dismember, in which case 2 Collector Roofs means that their sword is useless. This can be a Thought-Knot Seer. They would take my Assassin's Trophy, and then I am very far behind on board state. Yep. Part of the reason I wanted Assassin's Trophy up, but it is what it is. Verdant Catacombs. So I go get a basic, forest, Renin 6. I at least have a Renin 6 on the table. There is a Pithy Needle naming Renin 6, which is why I have not been trying to deploy this. Actually, I guess I didn't need to go tutor this at this exact moment, but sure. We'll get the Blood Crypt, blow up the temple, go get a forest so I can actually cast the Renin 6, rat in a grain, and not attacking so they can eat an oof. Just not going to happen. Looking for a Gitrock monster, which might have been a reason to save the Field of Ruin. Going after the Renin 6. Okay, well, 2 mana gain 4 is actually a spell I'm very happy to cast at the moment. Force of Vigor is also a pretty decent draw. Force of Vigor is a great draw. And I can see opponent just dropping in sort of Feast and Famine here. Same logic as my Renin 6. Okay, what is higher priority? Assassin's Trophy on the Thought-Knots here, draw a card, hopefully get into a... I can't kill anything with Renin 6. I think I have to blow up the Thought-Knots here. So let's go ahead and just attack. If opponent has shenanigans, we have the Assassin's Trophy up. No blocks. Renin 6. Go ahead. Opponent trying to kill Renin 6 again. I mean, I admire your dedication. This is slightly weak to another Thought-Knots here. But it really depends on what I draw, so... Fogging combat, forcing the attack. Yep, Wooded Foothills is fine. Post-combat Reality Smasher. You got it, opponent. Wooded Foothills. Yeah, I'd like a Dryad Arbor. Like, I understand this has trample, but if I have this many lands, one should be a Dryad Arbor. I can't attack. Land count is definitely too high. I even took 2 out for Plague Engineers here. Okay, well, they're just incentivizing me to not blow up their Pithy Needle, which is perfectly acceptable. Opponent is currently ahead on board, though. If they were to slam Karn Mycosynth in the same turn, they don't have the mana for it, but they would actually win at this point. Goes and gets Batterskull. So that is something where its activated abilities don't matter. So action would be just absolutely fantastic. That's a trophy. So I'm going to have to trophy the Reality Smasher, discarding the Wooded Foothills. Opponent won't be able to equip Batterskull, which means I'm just staring at the 2 Stoneforge Mystics at the moment. I can attack with 1, but I'd be trading. That's not a good trade. Oh, they actually just get to put it in now if they want to. Okay. Artifacts can't be activated, but Stoneforge can. Wonder if there's a reason they're holding it. That is a displacer. So before that resolves, I have to blow this up because this will kill me. As much as I want to kill the displacer, it's not technically a clock. They gotta go tutor all the artifacts out of their deck. They're just not good. And future removal still good versus the displacer. I spent a little too long setting up to kill that reality smasher. I'm not gonna forfeit that so I can take out the displacer. Life from the Loam. Okay, this is kind of a start. So we're going to take the Field of Ruin. Play the Field of Ruin. We're going to blow up the Eldrazi Temple. Just because that lets them activate twice. We'll figure out if they have 2 wastes or not. That's also probably... this is Game 3. It's not that relevant anymore. And then I can start dredging to try to find my Nurturing Peatland, my Barrenmoor, or my Tranquil Thicket. Or I can just try to draw into any of my bombs. I would love to draw any of my bombs. Well, they do have 5 basics. The wording on this is exile it, return it tapped. So if I try to double block, they can blow me out. I'm just going to block the Germ for now. Try to keep the clock down a bit. And it might be math time. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of my 22 lands currently in the deck because I trimmed 2 of them. I have 3 utility lands worth hitting, which puts me at 3 of 41. If I dredge 3, I don't want to pull up the calculator for that, but I have 3 shots at 3 versus I can draw a Tireless Tracker, a Termagoyf, a Gitrock monster, and Scavenging Ooze, technically. Did I take out Scavenging Ooze or did I take out Reclaimer? I took out both. Maelstrom Pulse is a live draw. And I think I used all 3 Assassin's Trophies. Yeah, all 3 Assassin's Trophies down. So, if I draw a land, though, I'm just cycling and probably picking up the Life from the Loam. So I need to take a natural draw. Of course I did. Yeah, opponent's going to get one more shot at this. So I'm taking essentially 7 a turn, which means I'm going to be on dead next turn, so I have to chump block the Germ this time. Because the time that they go to attack, they'll just tap down my creatures twice, and I won't have any blockers. Which I think actually puts me at dead. That definitely puts me at dead, because then they just put the Sword of Feast and Famine on, and I am out of options. Alright, well, that was a sad loss. That was a really sad loss. I actually think we could have managed that one. If opponent would have actually showed me the path before, I would have just conceded and not tried to do the math there. We moved to 0-2 with Gitrock. Seeing a lot of the flaws I was talking about in the deck tech, though, we end up not being able to apply pressure fast enough, and even when we do get a lot of our engine going, this is actually a fine hand. It's a little bit of interaction, no discard, but it allows us to ramp into Life from the Loam and Fatal Push, and then start Field of Ruin locking. But we didn't have a creature on the table to thread an opponent, and it just gave them turns to draw. And to be fair, we did flood out fairly hard in both of those games that we just lost versus Eldrazi-tron, but because we have to have so many lands in our deck, that is actually something that happens a lot. And I'm actually just going to take a basic forest here, because that Tireless Tracker means I want the other fetch land in hand. Basic forest could mean Green Devotion, could mean Jund. Looks like Hardened Scales Affinity, though. Yep. So I'm actually probably. Oh, that changes things. We get to be a. Let's take a look at what's going on first. Arcbound Worker and another Ravenger. So Inkmoth could potentially be a threat, but I'm getting rid of two problems here. Let's go grab just a basic swamp, kill that. And yep, opponent's done. I didn't even try to sequence that correctly just because of how that was going to go down. Liliana Last Hope comes in, Plague Engineer comes in, Collector Roof comes in. Surgical's a consideration. They're not necessarily a traditional combo deck, but they are a high synergy deck. If I can discard a Hardened Scales or a Surgical and Arcbound Ravager, they lose so much power. And Leyline of the Void, this is always one that I'm conflicted on. I'm happy to hear people's thoughts. I don't believe that Leyline of the Void stopping the modular trigger is good enough against this deck, but we have a lot of really good cards here. And when you're in this position, if you're looking to just add sideboard cards that might do something, that's when you want to bring in a card similar to this. But when I'm looking at trimming potentially 8 cards that are useful for our strategy, that's when I don't want Leyline of the Void. So for now, I do think we have too many lands. It's probably just going to be the Blooming Marshes. They are valuable with Birds of Paradise and being able to hit our 3-drops, but they're not fetchable. And I feel like there are too many lands in the deck at the moment. Renin 6 can kill a couple of their smaller creatures. It's really good for our strategy, though. Scavenging Ooze, again, doesn't stop modular. Eating their yard doesn't matter a ton. Life from the Loam is slow. If we're getting to Life from the Loam, we're probably losing, although getting rid of a Inkmoth Nexus is probably good enough in this matchup. Nissa being on the top end is actually far too slow. I don't like trimming this card. It's very powerful. Most people underestimate Nissa, but we just have things that need to cut, and being 5 mana is what the consideration is here. And probably just a Reclaimer. Being able to go get a Ghost Quarter or a Field of Ruin, if they're on the Manland strategy, is probably good, but we're a land stack. We have so many things that matter. If they don't already have counters, if they activate and we call Inkmoth, Plague Engineer just kills it, so sure. We have so many good cards here. And not enough lands. Wow. Wow. Deck, you have not been a very kind person to me today. Alright, we're going to tuck up Birds of Paradise, and this is technically a turn 2 Liliana, but because we're on the draw, we're probably going to Fatal Push their Steel Overseer or their Arcbound Ravenger. The Goyf might be bad. Yeah, I can see Lily cleaning up any last threat that they have being pretty good here. It's either that or the Birds of Paradise. I think I'm just going to go Birds and try to curve. That may not have been the right call either, but there are a lot of things that could go right or wrong here. We're just going to play this like John. Oh, that's amazing. All right, this shaped up into being a fantastic 5-card hand. Steel Overseer. Even called the card. I have to get a Overgrown Tomb here, just so I can actually cover Renin 6. Kill you. And then Collector Oof is almost like a Stone Rain. And we got a Last Hope. Okay. I love this hand. We're doing Jund things. Pseudo Stone Rain, shut off your strategy. Opponent's going to need to be on Dismember here. Or they're just going to try to invest into a giant creature, which can technically work. There's a Hangerback Walker, so they're not going to cast it for 0, but that's going to be something Lily can't necessarily deal with. Lily Last Hope can slowly pick it off, but... oh my gosh, and sometimes it just works out. I'm actually thinking I want to run out Lily of the Veil with no activation. If I Lily and plus, I'm discarding the Goyf. And I don't know what opponent has in hand. We can go for that. We technically have a clock and we're looming Planeswalkers, so this is probably correct. The 5/6 Goyf is so tempting, but I think it's correct. Yeah, Ancient Stearns would have found them any other threat. Hangerback Walker for 1 gives them 3 counters. That's a Tireless Tracker. Alright, well, this play is actually sacrificing my Lily of the Veil because they just get a crack back. And I don't want to trade Oof for 2 Thopters, so we'll just pick one of these guys off. Opponent can try to kill Lily of the Veil. Plus, I can always buy back Goyf. Oh, I should have actually attacked in combat. Then if they wanted to trade for the Oof, I could Lily and buy back the Collector Oof. They found a Dismember. Ravager. That's going to be a massive Ravager now. I wouldn't have been surprised if they hit Last Hope here, just so that I couldn't get back Stony Silence. So I can kill a Thopter, I can buy back Stony Silence. If I buy back Stony Silence, that means Last Hope is dead, and then this Tireless Tracker isn't very good. If I do buy back the Stony Silence, they can sack this Darksteel Citadel, make it a 6/6. I can't even really kill it in combat. Alternatively, I can run out Tireless Tracker as a chump blocker, kill a Thopter, and then make that play next turn. And just try to find a... Actually, that won't work because I can just move all the counters over to a Thopter, but at that point I only have to deal with a Thopter. I think Tireless Tracker's a chump blocker this turn. Yep. If they have another removal spell, I could potentially just get one shot here. Because they get to put 6 counters on this guy this turn. Or they could just move them all over to the Thopter, but... Ooh, they're trying the new toy! So, Modular 2, sacrifice an artifact, search your library for a construct, and put it into your hand. Only attacking me, huh? So, they sack this, it gets 13 counters. Yeah, opponent can actually kill me here. I think I'm just dead. I didn't consider them ripping off the top. Because I have no cards here. That modular too. Oof. Yep. Opponent gets it. I'm not going to make them do the math. It's already a 16-16. They didn't sack any of the Darksteel Citadels. Oof. We had the right cards. Just they had 2 of the Hardened Scales. I think we just run it back and try not to Moldify. Our hand did shape out kind of okay, but Moldify hurts. Moldify hurts a lot. Alright, turn 1 Inquisition, turn 2 Tapland, not good enough. Turn 1 Birds of Paradise into turn 2 Inquisition Fatal Push. Have up Assassin's Trophy. This is super reactive, but as a control player, I'm happy. We can keep this guy, tuck back an Assassin's Trophy since that ramps opponent. Then most of their good drops are on 2. They can have the Hardened Scales, and that would be the only thing I'd really want to Inquisition here, but seeing as how I don't have a second land, I'm going to definitely wait until 2 and try to take an Arcbound Ravager. Because the card that killed us that game wasn't the Hardened Scales, it was the Arcbound Ravager. It was the fact that he was able to sacrifice on a whim and move counters across. That's nasty. Alright, well, Trophy the Hardened Scales is seeming more and more like a reasonable line here. Yeah. Alright, let's take a peekaboo. Another Hardened Scales and a Dismember. Alright. Hardened Scales for sure. Then we didn't have a land drop, so Dismember coming during their turn. Oh, horrible things are about to happen. Horrible, horrible things. But it's going to take 5 to dismember our Birds of Paradise, more than likely. They're letting us untap. Okay. Huh. So I'm going to be using this Force of Vigor on probably a Welding Jar and the Hardened Scales, and that way they use one Welding Jar to protect the other, or they just let it go. Honestly, shenanigans are real. Um, I would love the Assassin's Trophy in my back pocket, but... Okay, more Welding Jars. And an Ancient Stirrings can find them anything that they want. Found a land. So I think what happens here is we cast this now so that the Regenerate will tap it and it won't be able to attack. And then we're going to blow this up, selecting this and this, exiling the Assassin's Trophy. Then that way they have to use another Welding Jar. We'll still get the Assassin's Trophy. Yep. Or we'll still get the Hardened Scales. That was a slight mistake. They could have tapped that for Dismember at that point. Come on, deck. We still have 22 lands. Or, I guess more appropriately, 20 lands. And we're 0 for 3 draws. If we whiff again, I'm pulling up the calculator. Hangerback Walker for 2. It's a freaking tap land. Okay. Really surprised why opponent has not tried to dismember us yet. For anybody who is curious, we had a 91% chance of that happening, so I guess it's not actually that bad. Okay, that's a Blood Crypt. So this actually doesn't actively do anything for me at the moment. No opponent has the Dismember in hand. If I Lily Plus, then I get rid of the Dismember, but they've shown that they actually don't want to activate it. If I Lily Last Hope on the Walking Ballista, they'll shoot the bird and then attack Lily. She dies. No, she'll be at 4 loyalty, so that's fine. Let's do that. I assume opponent has only not blown up our lands at this point because he wanted an active game of Magic, and honestly, he's so far ahead I can't imagine that he can lose at this point. I guess I can attack with the Ink Moth as well. Or that's technically a valid line. That would have been a reason to Blood Crypt first. It's not necessarily a shame land, but... This also means my Birds of Paradise lives for a turn. Yep, 1 poison at me, 3 at Lily. I'm going to use this Lily to try to sack the Hangerback Walker. They can activate the Ink Moth Nexus and sacrifice the Ink Moth Nexus. It looks like they're trying to kill me with poison damage, though, so that's likely not... Okay. Or they're fine with it. If you're good with it, I'm good with it. Then this likely means that my Lily's going to survive. or it's going to eat at least both attacks. Pithy Needle and Lily. Okay, that's bad. That is quite bad. Hangerback Walker definitely beats Goyf. So, likely taking 1 poison, 3 regular. I don't exactly have exile effects. If I can find a way to answer the Hangerback Walker, then I can Maelstrom Pulse all the tokens. But if opponent finds an Arcbound Ravager, I'm just dead. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They'll just sack the Hangerback Walker and all the Thopters, toss it on the Inkmoth Nexus, and I die. Let's take a look. That's a Birds. I guess that's technically a play. Goyf means I can at least start attacking. It's not productive attacking, but it's attacking. Animation module. So they're going to get a lot of dorks really quickly. And they can also start animation modulating my life total. So I need to find an artifact removal spell. Gitrock monster. Okay, so Gitrock actually means I'm just going to cast Gitrock and not attack. If I attack, they're going to just put a counter on this, get 5 Thopters. Gitrock can draw me out of a lot of situations here, so Mr. Gitrock, it's all you. You're our only hope. I mean, you do have a dude's arm in your mouth, so... Actually, no, there's his head, too. I don't know if you're the hope that we want, but... You are our hope. Push, Edict Effect. Not Edict Effect. I should probably look at the deck list since it's up on the side of the screen. Trophy, Push. Nissa Vital Force actually probably would have been okay there, but we cut her. Animation module only costs 3. We're taking 3 poison a turn thanks to this Pendelhaven. Tireless Tracker's not very good. Scooz is only okay. Floating a black in case I find removal. Ooh, no, I don't want to always yield to that. Stop yielding. Let's sack this dude. It is more color relevant, but if I find red, I want red and 6 to ping the little dude. Yep, that's not a great one. That's okay. So, Tireless Tracker, Field of Ruin. They're still going to be able to regenerate it, but I can stop a combat step with that. Then that means I'm likely blocking with a bird and cracking the clue. Actually, no. What that means is I am cracking the clue now because I can make an additional land drop, and we have to find more than 1 land. Come on. I believe in you. That is a pulse. Pulse means I have some small options. Pulse means I'm likely trading Gitrock and Pulse for Hangerback Walker. Ugh. And if opponent finds a sack outlet, that means that they can just sack the Thopter that I target. That was mean. I mean, I knew you had it, but that was mean. Yep, and then animation module can start proliferating. I need to find artifact removal. Probably 2 pieces because of the welding jar. So I'm actually going to float There's no good solutions here. Field of Ruin is at least a redraw, so let's sack this. We did find a Verdant, so let's go ahead and Field of Ruin Ink Moth. This should use up the Welding Jar. Yep. Then we both get a land. I'm just going to get a forest. That feels right. We actually have discard, and I kind of want to use it here. So, first things first, though. Let's actually go get a land. See what we draw, just so we know what our options are. That's another land. I'm likely using all of my mana this turn, so I'm just going to take the shocks even if it's not correct. This can only get us a forest, but we're not doing anything else. So we have Maelstrom Pulse and Inquisition up. This can be a tap land. Inquisition you. Take the Hangerback Walker. Then send both of these guys in. They could double chump, but odds are they're going to block the Gitrock. Yep. Grow it, get 7 Thopters. Then we're going to pulse. I don't see a sacrifice effect, so then it's me versus this Ink Moth, which means I have a turn to remove the animation module and potentially find another land destruction spell. They've already gone through 3 welding jars, though. Do not find a 4th welding jar. I don't believe they run 4. Okay, it's just a worker. Yep, they get to create a servo. Alright, running out of time. I don't have a card draw engine anymore. That is technically a draw. So first things first, let's get in with Goyf. Then I really don't want to draw any more lands, so I'll eventually go get a basic with this. Run out the Collector Roof. They won't be able to activate Animation Module, which means I can chump block Ink Moth for a couple of turns. And if they try to get in for real damage, I can activate the Hissing Quagmire, although that's likely not going to be relevant. Block you. Sure, why not? Don't really care. That is a last hope. So, what can I pick up? I can pick up Tireless Tracker. I can pick up Gitrock Monster. I think that's the only correct answer. So Lily, pick up. I won't have enough mana to actually do anything. I can also pick up Birds of Paradise to block for an additional turn. Okay, so what I think the correct call is, last hope, we're going to shrink the servo. Oh, that's not actually going to work because they'll just Pendlehaven the servo. So let's just minus and pick up. I honestly think it has to be Birds of Paradise. So Birds of Paradise will block for an additional turn. I should win combat on the ground. And then Tireless Tracker could draw cards. I don't have any lands left. Yep, we're going for birds. Swing in with Termagoyf. Likely blocking with Arcbound to move the counter over. Wouldn't be too surprised to see an activation of Inkmoth here. Guess I didn't want to go for that line. This does get them an additional dork. Likely doesn't matter though, and now I'm protected through a removal spell. Swinging both these servos at Lily would actually give me kind of a hard decision here. Do I want to block with the bird or save the Lily? Opponent's just going after me. Respectable. I mean, going for the kill. That is a Renin 6. So, shrink that. They should Pendlehaven it. Oh, I can't cast Renin 6 because of the bird blocking. Alright, I guess Hissing Quagmire just needs to start getting in then. Opponent just takes it. Okay. Llanowar Reborn. That is a draw. So this is their grind engine. Whenever a creature enters, they can move the 1/1 counter over to something else. That entered with a 1/1 counter, so animation module lets them activate, get a servo, and then they're not actually supposed to move it, if I'm mistaken. But they're getting a ground force set up. Opponent clicked through that. So do I want Last Hope to stick around? Last Hope at the very least can rebuy the Birds of Paradise. This is one of those lines I'm actually going to have to think through here. So I can Last Hope next turn, pick up Gitrock, and die. I can block with the birds, try to draw into an out, and keep Lily around. Otherwise, just cash her in, and then 1 mana towards Pain of Birds of Paradise isn't that high value. Yep, I think that's what I gotta do. Field of Ruin. Good card. Let's get rid of Poison. And that's the game. I think opponent may have been playing with us. I actually 100% would have been willing to give them that win because they made some really bad plays that kept us in the game at the start of that match. But they ended up conceding to that, so I guess we can't give it to them. I did want to try to... I don't know if that was a mistake or them letting us do it. If I knew, I would be happy to concede that, but whatevs, here we are. Gitrock, though, really showing how awkward some of the pieces are. I'm guessing if there's a home for Gitrock, it's not actually on the top of Golgari. You can put 1 or 2 in the deck and kind of do okay, but I would love to see a land base like Seismic Assault, Renin 6, Tireless Tracker. These are all great cards that could potentially have a home, and I just can't make it work. It's probably just not enough discard in the bottom. That's always been my go-to. Resilient Threat like Termagoyf does need to be in the deck, but you can see I took it down to 3 because 3 Termagoyfs is enough that you can actually put pressure up, but he's not the core of the deck. Liliana the Vel is just a strong card. Liliana, Renin 6, and Liliana Gitrock are all very high synergy pieces that do work well together. This is fine. It's a turn 1 Inquisition, turn 2 Trophy, turn 3 Lily, and hopefully draw into some action before Gitrock. Otherwise, Lily will just discard Gitrog and we'll be sad, but that's life. We have discard on 1 and a Lily on 3. That's really all you're looking for. A threat on 2 would be good, but as I was literally just saying, it's... I'm getting a dual land here, so leading on the Wooded Foothills, since I can't get a basic swamp with this. Not having a threat on 2 is really where this deck is starting to struggle. And so seeing a hand without one is pretty much stock for what it is. Alright, so Heritage Druid requires 3 elves. Azuri can win the game, but it can only regenerate another target elf, so Llanowar goes down. We have Plague Engineers on the side, so this is probably just go to sideboard and win. But we have a moderate hand, so... Yep, you got it. Heritage Druid down. Opponent has 2 Pain lands and a couple of expensive cards. So likely going to get a tap land here. Going to go get Blood Crypt for a top deck Ren and 6. And then I have Assassin's Trophy up if opponent finds another land. Or not another land, another Mana Dork. They technically had 2 draws at it, so they could slam Mana Dork, Azuri. One peatland down. And it looks like it's probably another Coco. Real Druid. I knew that thing existed, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody use one. Okay, well, Assassin's Trophy just means that they get a Coco next turn, so likely not going to be popping the Assassin's Trophy for anything here. They can Izuri into... No, they won't have anything else to follow that up with, so let's just get a Blood Crypt. Ooh, Blooming Marsh. Pretty decent. I am going to trade Lily for one of their little dorks. It gains us a little bit of life, but also takes away their critical mass, and that's how elves win, is just getting a lot of elves out and then getting an overrun effect, or the Glint Sleeve Siphoner. That's not the right name, but it drains equal to the number of elves that you control. So let's just keep critical mass down and try to get up to Gitrog. At the current moment, I'm also not very stoked about discarding these cards in my hand, and these Pain lands can actually really help us. If they're going to be losing 2 life every turn just to cast spells, then that's where I want to be at. They do get a Coco here, though. So likely passing to me to Coco. I have to leave up Assassin's Trophy. Oh, no they can't. They kept the Heritage Druid around? Yeah, I'm expecting Azuri. Come on, Mr. Azuri. Come make an appearance so I can Assassin's Trophy you. Two mana. Not 2 mana. Shaman of the Pact. That's the drainy one. Oh, that's fine. So just trade out another Lily. My life total is getting a little low because I had to take a couple of shocks there and multiple fetches. Opponent's likely sacrificing the Heritage Druid. But Lily, trade for a card, gain some life is something I'm always willing to get behind. And then Gitrock should be bigger than most of their creatures, so future Shamans are going to be the problem. I think they run 2 to 3 on their top end. How bad is this if... yeah, they'll overrun. So I don't think I can Gitrock next turn. Hopefully I draw Gleef. Lily of the Vale has gained us 4 life this game versus the aggro deck. Ooh, they're actually going for Coco, which means I think I am on Gitrock Monster. And then I can cash out the Ghost Quarter for more interaction if I need it. The Gitrock Monster! We have been able to cast Gitrock Monster a lot tonight. Coco in response. That's interesting. I guess I could technically follow this up with my additional land drop and a removal spell. Opponent did run out their Nurturing Peatland, so they do have one card I don't know about that could very well be an Assassin's Trophy. But I'm expecting Instep Coco. Alright, Mana Dork. Single Mana Dork. That's rough. I'm sorry, opponent. You put this card in your deck for a reason, and it's not to get a 1/1 that taps for colorless. Opponent can Izuri here, but it's really going to depend on what their other cards are. I could see Saka Peatland and Izuri as a last-ditch effort. Okay, that can generate some mana. So opponent has 6 mana here. Izuri can't quite overrun yet. You can Izuri with this, though, and regenerate. That doesn't get you very far. You actually could have Izuri'd and... Nope. Dwinnen's Elite. That generates elves. Alright, looking for an Inquisition to take Izuri out of their hand, and then I should be able to win on the ground. Or they're just going for it. Okay. So, looking for creatures. I mean, you can technically get in. Oh, but then you wouldn't be able to block. Odds are you're not blocking, but... So, float a green. We're going to sack this dude. Get an Assassin's Trophy. Okay. Trophy Izuri. Pretty easy decision there. Then I would like to Ghost Quarter the Peatland, but it looks like they're trying to sack it at end step, so... Ooh, that is a draw. That is definitely a draw. So I get to draw multiple cards now. Green and a 1. This gets to be a Verdant Catacombs. We'll go get a basic. Not drawing the life from the loam. Basic forest, wooded foothills. Not drawing life from the loam, and that's a Termagoyf. So this just needs to get me any basic, which you can only get green, so that's acceptable. There's a Goyf, and then I get to hold up the Assassin's Trophy. Opponent does get to crack their Peatland, but they technically have a lot of mana here. I could see something like a Crater Hoof being a problem. They currently have 3, 4, 5, almost 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Green Finale's not lethal yet. Okay. I was targeting this Heritage Druid with this Assassin's Trophy in my head. That was the current threat on table I cared about because it does generate enough mana from all these little dorks, like even the tokens getting mana. Having 2, though, means nothing. I'd probably be looking at the Shaman at that point. Likely looking at life from the loam this turn, just so I can get back fetch lands and draw at least 2 more. I'd love a Wrenn and 6. Like, do I actually have to ask for Wrenn and 6? Shaman of the pack here might be a problem. Alright, Shaman's going to come down. In this case, I'm going to target something. They all generate mana. The 3/2 is the biggest threat. So hit this. I'm going to lose 6. Ugh, that's not Happy Magic Christmas Land. Now opponent can pay for Peatland again. Also getting close to where opponent could technically alpha. Okay, well, I want to tap for black here. Painland is the worst of all the lands. Although non-Painland is actually going to be better. Hopefully we draw into something that actually cares about it. Nope. And I do want Life from the Loam now. There's a Fatal Push. Okay, that's a start. Revolt is currently triggered. I'm going to hit their forest here. I want to draw an Assassin's Trophy. Actually, Tireless Tracker is acceptable. It's a blocker. Alright, we lose our floating mana. That is a Nissa. Nissa, pick up Lily doesn't exactly do anything. Nissa plus gives me a 5/5. That's not good enough. So let's Tireless Tracker. Then we can Life from the Loam. We need a Swamp. Basically just basics. I'm going to be playing Ghost Quarter this turn and Swamp, so I guess I'll just grab the Forest for a future turn. My life total is low enough I care. We can Ghost Quarter, get a clue. Look for another option here. I also want to see how many basics they have to see if this is a viable plan in the future or not. Don't need Life from the Loam, looking for a removal spell. That's an Assassin's Trophy. Won't be able to cast it yet, though. Then we can run out of Swamp, get another clue. And because we have Revolt, I'm casting this now. And we're blocking for a turn, so currently taking 2 on the table, which isn't that bad. We are dead to another Shaman of the Pact. But if we get one more on tap step, we win. It is essentially that simple. I can technically double Ghost Quarter them. Doesn't mean a whole lot with the mana dorks out, but it is a possibility. Izuri could technically be a problem. They don't have that in hand, but they can cast Izuri and not overrun. Opponent also did run out of basics. Looks like they run 3, so keeping Land Destruction package in. Clan Caller is very close to killing me. That might have been a reason to save the Fatal Push, but currently going to 1. I guess we can see if... Nope, that's just slightly awkward. I have to trade off my tracker for something here. Definitely killing the 2 big things, and that, and I take 4. Float. I'm going to cast the Assassin's Trophy, for sure, but... Don't want the Life from the Loam yet. We can Assassin's Trophy the Clan Caller. This time I am going to dredge it because I need to take them off their mana sources, so let's go ahead and just do this again. We can pick up the basic and the Ghost Quarter. Blow up Black Source. Not going to dredge. Still looking for the removal spell. Yeah, it looks like I'm not going to get it. So this means we need to fade for a turn. I can run out the Hissing Quagmire as an additional creature. Doesn't matter at this exact moment. I can try to draw it into a Fatal Push. Nope, not drawing yet. Alright, that's just an additional land. So, yeah, I want the additional Death Touch land out there. I can't bluff the Fatal Push at this point. Discard, fetch land, draw. I guess I actually should have ran out the basic because of discard to hand size. I didn't think through that. We're going to go to cleanup again. I'm actually going to pick up the Life from the Loam. Discard the fast land. And there's an Inquisition. I love you, Mr. Gitrock. I completely forgot about this combo. Alright, there's another Life from the Loam. Then I'm going to be discarding Life from the Loam eventually. It's possible I cast Nissa next turn, so I'm just going to do it now. We can draw through most of our deck with that, though, and try to find our out. But seeing as how I didn't leave up the mana for a Fatal Push, I didn't see the reason to continue. Nissa gives Vigilance, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, it's just Haste. Alright. Let's float our black. Sack the fast land because it will never come in play untapped anymore. We're not going to dredge the loam. We have one. That is a Wrenn and 6. Alright, well, I'm casting Wrenn and 6 because it's a 1-for-1, so let's just crack the clue with the floating mana. Not draw a Life from the loam. That's a Maelstrom Pulse, so I think we get a lock opponent out of the game here. So let's cancel that. Oh, we even got Field of Ruin. Sweet. Well, not activating that guy. Let's go ahead and just kill the Clan Caller. We can cast Life from the Loam, pick up the Ghost Quarter. Ghost Quarter and lands. We'll run this out. Blow up the cavern. Not drawing. Then I want to run out my black source so I can kill this. And then if they top deck a Clan Caller, they can't do anything about it. So don't need to attack. It's just not relevant yet. I will next turn. But for now, we're just going to discard a ton of lands looking for our Fatal Push. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Okay. Discard to hand size, and it's only actually 2 lands left, so opponent gets 1 more turn to fade. More than likely. Cancel. There we go. Cancel. So let's go ahead and cast the Fatal Push on this dude. Go to actual cleanup, where we will discard. Get rid of the extra Gitrock, and opponent should have 0 outs at this point. Wrenn and 6 gets to pick off the Elf Warrior, and that was Gitrock Prison. Now, Plague Engineer gets to come in and absolutely wreck our opponent's day. We just call Elf, and there's only like 2 things in their deck that survive that. Liliana, the Vel comes in, then we get to trim on some of our less ideal cards, Elvish Reclaimer. There's not much synergy in Modern like there is in Legacy. This Reclaimer doesn't actually get most of the benefits that the Elves give out. But then on top of that, the Liliana, the Vels are kind of bad. The Edict doesn't cover much other than usually a dorky 1-1, and they empty their hand pretty quickly. I could also take out the Life from the Loams and keep the Lilianas. That'd probably be the other consideration there. But Skoos gets to eat all the little dorks. It's a valid threat. Goyf is a clock and it blocks really well. It's Lily versus Life from the Loam, and Life from the Loam showed that the land destruction package is viable against this opponent, so we'll submit like this. Okay, we get push, push, Skoos, trophy, Wrenn and 6. This doesn't get much better. This is exactly what we're looking for, minus a Plague Engineer. Alright, and opponent's on a dork. So, unfortunately, have to get a Overgrown Tomb here. Wrenn and 6 is so good, but I can't get the red source yet. Whatever, I'm going for red source. We're going to probably be fatal pushing on 1 and 2, so if we top deck a untapped green source, I can potentially Wrenn and 6 instead of push here. That doesn't feel great, but opponent has a Skoos. Interesting. I have a tap land and a push with your Skoos' name on it. Second push was relevant there. Now we get a Wrenn and 6, hopefully kill off their only little dork. Otherwise we have a Goyf to actually put a clock out, or a trophy if opponent actually has like an Azuri. Sorry opponent, this isn't going to feel great. Kill your Llanowar Elf, still have 2 counters. Then Verdant Catacombs will go get our Overgrown Tomb. I know I played Elves in Pauper. I don't think I ever played it in Modern, though. It was on my list for a while, but the problem was that Plague Engineer got printed, and there was just no reason to even try to do that anymore. I don't want opponent to know about my Wooded Foothills. It's not overly relevant at this exact moment, but going to pick up the Catacombs. I'm going to run out my own Skoos here. So this is going to go get me a basic Swamp. So I can Assassin's Trophy their Skoos. And I actually might just be on Goyf. Goyf is only a 3/4. Skoos is going to grow big enough before too long. And this is a pretty decisive position. Given opponent's start, I'm expecting probably 2 Cocos in hand. They did miss a land drop. Lead the Stampede. Alright, so they get a look for some elves. They find a Elite and a Clan Caller. Clan Caller doesn't do too much here. Wrenn and 6 will ping it. It gets to be an Anthem for a turn, but that's miserable. Alright, and we get to do the Wrenn and 6 value train now. Barrenmoor, you were a welcome draw. Oh, and we got a Last Hope. Opponent's not going to have fun today. I'm not even going to grow the Skoos. I just want to show opponent exactly how over this is at the moment. So, we get a plus no targets. Hold up the Wooded Foothills, although likely just going to get an Overgrown Tomb and cycle it. Actually, they have the Clan, or the Drainers, so likely not going to take the shock. I'm in just such a decisive position right now that I get to kill any of their 2/2s with my Planeswalkers. Yep, all you, opponent. You get 3 dorks here. Alright, and you get your Lord. Elite down. They can bring out the Clan Caller. That just means Clan Caller dies first. Then Heritage Druid dies. I run out Goyf. They still can't attack. If you have a second Lord, you might have a small shot there, but looks like you don't. Alright, well, I am going to get a basic forest here and eat something. I do feel like my life total is going to matter a little bit. And that's a Lily of the Veil. Sorry, opponent, this won't feel good. Hit that, hit that. This is only going to eat the Little Dork at the moment, but still should be enough value here that opponent should realize that this is basically over. I can run out the Baronmoor, but I don't want to because I can cycle it with Renin 6. If it enters the battlefield, then my time's just over. And I'm leaving the Skoos back in case opponent has a threat. That might not be correct. I should just close out the game. But opponent has 5 cards in hand. Another lead the Stampede. They did find 2 elites. It's going to take me a minute to chip through their elites, but they're tapping out to do this, so that's a Birds of Paradise. Likely going to discard that to Liliana, but let's cycle some stuff. That's a Tireless Tracker. So I can double activate, get rid of this elite, then they have to, or just plus, pick up, fetch land, start committing. Alright, let's just kill stuff. Plus, get rid of the Birds of Paradise. Just actively not doing anything. Run out Tireless Tracker. Oh, I mistapped. I was supposed to leave green open for the Skoos. But this looks like I have a Fatal Push, which is probably relevant with 2 Dwynen's elites in hand. Opponent has to actually consider I can blow up their creature when the elite enters the battlefield. I really want to alt Lily here. That's another Tireless Tracker. So shrink the one that actually generates mana, and yeah, it's over. The opponent just could not keep up. Well, that was pretty decisive versus Elves. I don't really think that was a showing for our deck, if I'm going to be completely candid here. I think that was more of opponent's deck didn't work out. If I actually would have just not chipped off their creatures and tried to make the conservative lines, I could have just drawn into a Plague Engineer and ended the game on the spot. This is acceptable. So I think in the dark I'm supposed to Inquisition on one, but potentially having a turn 2 Liliana of the Veil is also actively good. This looks like I'm supposed to Inquisition on 1, Goyf on 2, Birds, or Lily on 3, and probably just discard Birds to Lily. We're going to play like Jund. I actually like having good Magic cards in my deck. It's amazing. They do things. Alright, looks like Thopter Sword. So, 2 Pithy Needles. They're probably going to name Verdant Catacombs on one of them, but they already have their combo. They only have a single land. First turn I activate Lily. They're going to drop the Sword of the Meek into the yard. Second time around, there's going to be a Pithy Needle on her. So I think I'm going to just try to Mana Screw opponent and go for the Goyf win. It's not guaranteed to pay dividends, but it's also possible they just name Verdant Catacombs on the dark and I'm stuck on 2 mana. What you got, opponent? What is your name? Yep. Called it. Well, I'm not even stuck in the dark anymore. Alright. Here's Mijul Goyf. The Pithy Needle is also a pretty prime target to sack to Thopter Foundry. Probably Lily here. We're not Jund, but we kept a Jund hand. So Birds of Paradise here will let me actually cast. There's already a land in the yard, so I'm running out the fast land. Birds of Paradise will let me cast Gitrock if I top deck it, which feels relevant. Gitrock not having trample is massively bad for me, but it's better than running out a Lily and confirming that they're supposed to needle Lily. Birds of Paradise also might make them think that there's something other than Jund. But I'm expecting a Thopter Foundry that wasn't a Thopter Foundry. Okay, that makes more sense. Inquisition. So I know about Sword of the Meek and Thopter Foundry. Opponent has 2 unknowns. We're going to take a look. I can find an Assassin's Trophy for one of the Thopter Foundries. They have Destroy Target Birds of Paradise. They have Draw a Card twice. I think it's Draw a Card. We're still technically ahead at this point. It might not feel like it, but we are. They need to actually run out the Sword of the Meek next turn and sack it to get a single Thopter. And that gives them the ability to grind. So let's slam this, tapped, hit them down to 10. And then try to make it so that they don't want to sack their Pithy Needle on Lily. If they are going to sack right now, they're going to sack it for the Verdant Catacombs, which is better for our strategy. Oh boy. God, I love me some Nissa. So her minus is irrelevant right now, but I'm attacking for 5 more. Nissa Vital Force. We actually do kind of look like Golgari at the moment, which, to be fair, that's our shell, but whatever. Gotta run out the Verdant Catacombs here and make this my attacker. It gets haste. And I just confirmed all of my opponent's names for them. Hopefully that means they're not going to name Renin 6 in the future. But they sack the Sword of the Meek. They're going to get a 2-3. Likely go down to 8, though. And then they're looking for a land. Oh, they just took it. So likely trying to make it so that Nissa doesn't ultimate here. But I pretty much kill them now. I'm only going to have 3 attackers. They can activate 4 times. Urza makes them go infinite, though, so I do need to find a quick resolution to this. Spellbomb can hit something for 2 damage. Is that relevant? So I activate Nissa. Oh, that's only until end of turn. That's not nearly as good as I was hoping it would be. So I get 2 attackers. I can blow away one of them. Wait, why did he attack Lily? He must be planning on sacking the Needle. So, oh, it's going to sack all 3 of these. When they sack the Spire of Industry, I'm going to Assassin's Trophy the Thopter Foundry. That only buys me a turn. But yeah, I don't know why I got back on the plan that they're going to sack the Pithy Needles, because they really can't. They are just going to sack Sword of the Meek. I don't know, maybe I was supposed to activate Nissa there? And that's not even the... Oh my gosh, that's not the snowland. I'm getting a little fried. This has been a very, very long week for me. So with the other Thopter Foundry, I think the plan is that I want them to run out the one in their hand. They have no incentive to do that, though. So maybe just protect Nissa for a turn. Try to top deck into a land. If I knew I had another Assassin's Trophy or a Maelstrom Pulse coming, I could actually hit the Lily of the Vale and the Thopter Foundry at instep and then make them discard the only card in their hand. Both go to Nissa. Yep, I think I'm on grinding here, so that means ulting Nissa and trying to top deck a non-Verdant Catacombs fetch land. That was a poor Assassin's Trophy. I should have hit something the previous turn. Opponent has enough mana, though, that I'm not going to be able to get through this. Alright, fair enough. That happened. So, opponent's going to have 3 blockers. I'm going to have 2 attackers. But this is also taxing opponent to actually be forced into attacking me, so that might be fine. Them gaining life and getting 1 additional card every turn is so bad, though. I need a Maelstrom Pulse to get rid of the Thopter Foundry. If I try to target a Thopter, they'll just sack it to the Thopter Foundry, so there's not much to go off of there. Yep. Opponent gets Polluted Delta, and then it's only a matter of time before they end up getting an Urza and go infinite. I think it's really hard to try to make the call that I should have ulted Nissa this turn after I got her. I mean, even opponent was just like, that probably doesn't matter, and then realized that they were going to get slow incremental advantage, so they had to go after Nissa. Sending 1 at Lily. Not sure why. And 3 at Nissa? That's fine. I'm looking for a Gitrock more than anything. A Tireless Tracker would be fine. There's the other Thopter Foundry. So that still is protected versus Maelstrom Pulse. Wow, that is pretty decent timing from opponent there. Alright, well, I think we officially fell behind. There's not much I can do to overcome this other than drawing one of my attrition cards. And because I'm trying to think through the lines and more clearly articulate what I'm working on, it's taking up more of my time than opponents when they're the ones doing all the click steps. But they're slowly regaining life. Another solid attacker might actually get me back into this a little bit. But I think Tireless Tracker, Gitrock, Elvish Reclaimer would actually kind of be okay. Just because it'd let me actually start getting my lands out of my deck and give me another way to trigger landfall without the Verdant Catacombs. But opponents being able to attack every turn, block every turn. Sending 5 at Nissa. So I can't protect Nissa anymore. I can protect my life total with the birds, but then I can't get Gitrock monster. And a Goblin Engineer means that they can start looping and actually get artifacts back from the yard. I can Fatal Push this. They're going to know it's in my deck, so 100% just going to Fatal Push that. But without a Gitrock or a Tireless Tracker off the top, I can't win here. Renin 6 is kind of close, but I don't have a way to get a land into the yard. So we'll just go to boards. We'll bring in our ley lines. We'll bring in our Force of Vigors. We'll bring in our Plague Engineers. We'll bring in Surgical Extraction and Collector Roof. And we'll take out all the cards that make our deck exactly what it is, which is Elvish Reclaimer, Tireless Tracker, probably the Fatal Pushes. We have alternate ways to get rid of the Goblin, and we have to cut a lot. Lily the Veil's probably actively bad here. Nissa Vital Force could actually win the grind, but can't do anything about the infinite combo. Gitrock is still like the value core of our deck. It's called Gitrock. I can't take him out. As much as I want to, I can't. Maelstrom Pulse is fine, although it's easily interrupted, but this can get a Thopter Foundry. Let's actually see what our curve is like. I might be trimming the birds. I'm okay to trim one of the fast lands and probably the birds. This feels so bad. I think I'd rather turbo out a Gitrock or something. I can't trim him. Goif is a real clock. Renin 6 is our... Oh, Leylines came in. Derp. Renin 6 has to come out. Same with Gitrock. That is one of the problems with Gitrock, is if we're going to... no, that's one-sided. I'm sorry. I apologize. I am slightly fried at the moment, and this is our last match. I'm kind of hoping it just ends. So we can... Opponent was on Pithy Needle. I think they just drew the 2 in their deck, but let's try that split. Choke could also be a consideration. They're basically 4-color, though, so I'm not a huge fan of that. And this is perfect. So we get to start off with the Leyline. We get a discard a combo piece, and then we actually get to blow up 2 pieces as they're committing out. Or we can just cast Nissa, assuming we get to her. So I'm good to hang on to this. This has a lot of sideboard tech in it. There's our fun, friendly neighborhood Leyline. We get to Inquisition. Something immediately. So there's a sword. Opponent actually has a couple of redraws and the Mystic Forge. So the Mystic Forge is a good Force of Vigor target. Hopefully we'll have 4 lands the same time that they do. I don't care about this Fatal Push, and the Astrolabes are mediocre cantrips. Let's just exile a combo piece. That's the best we can hope for here. Field of Ruin is fine. Nothing great or terrible about it, just fine. There's the other Astrolabe. Opponent basically just has a new hand at this point. Expecting Spire here. Got a Bobble. And a Polluted Delta. So they showed us both new cards. Main 2. That's interesting. Also got blue. They can filter into anything that they want to here, but still interesting they just go for a second blue. Must mean they found an Urza, or they're at least trying to make considerations for it. We can just get a tapped Overgrown Tomb. And there's Mr. Gitrock. So we are currently on pace to cast Force of Vigor on 4, Nissa on 5. Opponent took a look at me. I have a fetch land out. Not great timing. Like, they had a fetch land. They could have checked to see if they wanted their card. They could have waited until after I fetched and actually seen what I was going to draw. So I'm expecting Mystic Forge just to come down next turn. If not, I can Field of Ruin, assuming they play their Spire of Industry. And that's a Watery Grave. That Welding Jar was very opportune for them. So I think that just means I'm planning on ulting Nissa here. So we'll cast, we'll hit that and that since they can't sack it. Opponent actually has a Fatal Push for our land. I'm not sure if I want to do that until Gitrock's already out. Oh, okay. That makes things pretty easy. Let's hit the Spire because it's Rainbow. We can go get a... Forest is actually more relevant if for some reason they board it into Blood Moon. Blow that up before they get any value off of it. Then that means I get to Gitrock next turn, and then... Yeah, I really hope I find a fetch land. Field of Ruin there was just a good use of mana. That's the only reason I fired it off. Pulse is interesting. That will be useful later. But for Meow, there's Mr. Gitrock. Pause to read the Gitfrog. Hypnotoad's coming for you, opponent. He's gonna come get you. And likely sacking the Peatland just to see a couple additional cards next turn if I don't find something off the top. I don't know. With Nissa here, that's a hard call. I only need to find one land to make that happen. But we'll see. Float the mana, sack the forest, draw a card. It's a Scooze. So we have a backup plan for the yard. Yeah, let's just sack this. Look for 2 lands. Well, there's 1. There's 2. Opponent has a Fatal Push, which means I'm not actually going to make contact with the land that Nissa animates, but I do want to plus Nissa. Alternatively, I could just pick up the Nurturing Peatland. That doesn't feel very good, though. Pick up Catacombs feels great. So I only know about the Fatal Push in my opponent's hand, though, and I want to get Nissa's ultimate. There doesn't feel like there's much value in grabbing the fetch land when I have a couple more in the deck. So let's go ahead and Nissa. I know this isn't going to make contact with opponent, but they are going to push, and Gitrock will make me draw cards. And then I'm 1 turn away from ulting Nissa, so... Oh, they just let it go? Interesting. They might just know that they're out and see if I reveal anything new. Yeah, a little interested to see what opponent's line is here. Taking that damage increases the clock a full turn, which means they need to blow up my Leyline of the Void and hit their combo. Like, this is probably a whir for Ensnaring Bridge. This could technically be for a puzzle box and they could slam a Narset. That would be hilarious. Ichor Wellspring. So they're just looking to draw a card. All the tutor targets in the world, and they're looking to draw a card. Yeah, I mean... Probably should have done the Force there since I'm going to cast Inquisition, but odds are I'm just killing opponent here, so don't care. That's a Ghost Quarter. Show me what you got. Revealing Fatal Push, Urza. So I did get the read on the Urza. Slightly weird that they didn't cast the Fatal Push last turn, but... I can Lily? See if they discard the last Fatal Push. I'm just going to get rid of Scoos. We're basically winning this. They did get... Oh, nope, they got rid of Urza. So, that means I'm not getting in. Let's get the Emblem. We'll go for multiple card draws. Opponent wants to play this sad and slow. Draw a card. Wooded Foothills. Draw a card. This will make them concede. Oh, they don't. We have Leyline out. Yep, non-bows. Fun, non-bows. Let's go grab our Blood Crypt for no reason. We'll pay life. There's a Leyline of the Void. We can Ghost Quarter our opponent's Black Source. And we are not finding any lands. Fun stuff. Alright, well. Let's get in with the Gitrock. So, still protected from the combo. Urza is going to give them 2 blockers, but I'm going to have a Maelstrom Pulse and a Liliana that can deal with the blockers. Oh, nope, they kept the Fatal Push. Yep, it's over. Okay, what changes here? They did show us a lot more islands, so I want to bring in Choke. They also saw that we have a lot of enchantments and artifacts that matter. They didn't see the Collector Roof, but it's probably pretty fair to assume that they have it. That's probably why they kept the Fatal Pushes around. And they also didn't see the Plague Engineer. Like, honestly, we're stacked for this. If we're bringing in the Choke, I want to drop something higher on our curve. I don't know what that would be, though. We just have so many good cards in this matchup. I guess I can go down a Leyline. We do have Surgicals. We care more about interrupting the combo instead of just taking away their yard. So... there's just so many hate pieces here. We have so much for this matchup. I mean, technically Scoos is also in here for this matchup. I don't know. Leyline has text. Lily's kind of meh. One Lily of the Veil is not correct, but I'm not bringing in Lily for Birds of Paradise or anything like that. Double Leyline, Bird into Tracker into Gitrock on 4. I'm a fan. I'd love to see a Plague Engineer or a Collector Roof somewhere, but these are cards we put in our deck to beat this, so... Oh, there's even a Wrenn 6. Alright. This is getting close to Happy Magic Christmas Land. This Verdant Catacombs is going to get Blood Crypt, which means this one has to get Overgrown Tomb. Then I'm assuming Wrenn 6 is higher priority than Tracker. This can actually get me a tap land. Unless they kill my birds. Kill the birds. Alright. So, Wrenn 6 on 2. Still perfectly fine. I'm doing a lot of damage to myself, though, but opponent won't really pressure us all that hard. This did slow down Gitrock for a turn. That feels bad. Welding Jar is protection, and we have no interaction at the moment. The Goblin? The Goblin doesn't do much here. We have the Graveyard locked down. Thopter Foundry's probably bad. Yeah. They will only be 1/1s, but they can make them at end step. Alright, well, opponent doesn't know about one of our Verdant Catacombs, so may as well pick it up and look like we have different action in hand. Then they're going to have to start actively hitting Wrenn 6 while we're just getting value off of our Tireless Tracker. Tireless Tracker does get worse with the Collector Roof in the deck, but honestly, if we Collector Roof, opponent's basically done. If they have a Fatal Push, they're going to use it here. If they had a Fatal Push, it would have gone towards the... yeah, that didn't even draw a card, that just filtered. If they had a Fatal Push, they probably would have used it on the bird. So they get to activate once, and I get a Trophy the Foundry. I just told them about the other Verdant Catacombs, but whatever. I feel pretty far ahead at the moment. So, what is the verbiage on this? Whenever it enters the battlefield, you may return Sword of the Meek from the graveyard to the battlefield. So, they won't be able to make a 2-3 off of this. Then I get to crack this, get a basic. Assassin's Trophy, crack the clue. Opponent can currently float 4 mana, and I can't do much about that. Hopefully they just go to spend Urza. Okay, so they get to activate Urza. They found a land. They already used one for... Oh, they didn't use one for turn? My bad. Had I known that, I probably would have actually just cracked. So let's blow up the Thopter Foundry. The sword doesn't do much at the moment. Then I have multiple removal spells that can hit Urza. They are trading the Thopter Foundry for a land. Worth noting. Then let's go get us a swamp. We'll crack a clue, looking for an answer. That's a Field of Ruin. That actually doesn't do much at the moment, though. I can get Frog and actually get more advantage than an opponent at this point. I can also just start cycling. We came here to cast Get Frogs. Let's do Get Frogs. We should have more card advantage than opponent, and they shouldn't be able to combo off with the ley lines out. So, friendly neighborhood Frog. I can swing in, and that's probably worth it with the Tireless Tracker. Opponent can technically attack into Renin 6 with the Construct, then we'll have to cast the new one. But we're about to start drawing like 5 cards a turn, so we're going to find answers before too long. I just didn't want to have to figure out how to answer all the Thopters when I can just figure out how to answer the one Urza. Yep, and they're already on Spitting. They found an Astrolabe. I mean, it's a card. It finds them a new card. It makes the Construct bigger. Alright, what are you filtering into? This looks like another Thopter Foundry. Alright. Attacking me. Attacking me. I don't know what attacking me means. But it looks like they're trying to incentivize me to block Urza. And quite frankly, I don't care at this moment. If I block with Frog and they make this trade, whatever, I'm just going to block Urza. There's a couple of different avenues I can take here, all of which are just basically dying to something akin to Temur Battle Rage on the Construct. But they get to sack the Construct and make Thopters to block with, so they have some lines. Oh, well done, opponent. I didn't think through that. Okay, I go to 5. Couldn't they have killed me there just by keep making Thopters and... Okay. I don't really know what's going on, but that's a Force of Vigor. So I can cast that during their turn by exiling the Ren 6. Okay, we sack this guy. Or I just cast it now. Whatever. Let's just do what our deck's supposed to do. Let's have fun. Let's showcase as long as we have the opportunity. So let's cycle this for another Goyf and an Assassin's Trophy. Force of Vigor's fine. I need to make my land drops though, which is Verdant Catacombs. Sack this, draw another card. Get a forest. Then we can Verdant Catacombs. I am going to go to 1 here. Just looking for, like, that is a great draw. I'm not going to be cracking my clues, so by all means, let's pop this out. There's a Collector Roof. Then opponent won't be able to... I have the Assassin's Trophy and Force of Vigor up. That should be enough here. So let's swing in with Gitrock and Tireless Tracker. I think opponent did let us play this out, so I'm willing to make a play mistake that has them go to another turn. Then let's stop on their upkeep before they get to draw a card. We'll discard the fast land that we can't activate to draw with Gitrock. We'll discard the Overgrown Tomb since we can't take the shock. Draw with Gitrock. Discard the Swamp. Draw with Gitrock. And that's not the best. We can discard the Inquisition. We're stopping on their upkeep, so let's blow up the Thopter Foundry. Nope. Let's blow up these two. I don't think I clicked on that right. And I do want the Thopter Foundry in case they have a Fatal Push. So, exile a Goyf. Assassin's Trophy this thing. And if you draw a removal spell, you got it, opponent. I'm happy to yield this to you because I think you did intentionally not kill us. Which seems to be something everybody's doing tonight. Like, I very well could have just built all their creatures. No basics, and they get it. Cool beans. I'm going to mark this down as something between a 1-4 to a 3-2. Just because I feel like our opponents let us play with it. We probably would have taken those losses if they played correctly, but I'm willing to have fun with my pet deck, and I know that's not something everybody's happy to see, but that's what I like to do. So, Gitrock. I've already covered this at several points during the video, so if you were listening and paying attention, feel free to drop off. I don't really have much to contribute because this has gone through a couple of renditions. We have Dark Confidant as a consideration for this deck. Got worse with Red and 6 coming out, and it also hurts really bad when you flip a Gitrock. Gitrock as a 2 of, at a 5-drop is probably the sweet spot. We're trying to play a lean, efficient deck. I think that this exact build had too many lands. I figured with Nurturing Peatland coming out, as well as the cycling lands, it was possible that we were able to go a little higher than that, but 22 lands and 4 Birds of Paradise might be the sweet spot. There were times when I wanted to trim the Birds of Paradise, and that might have been correct, but being able to ramp up to a turn 4 Gitrock is about the only way that you get to cast him in Modern. There are very powerful sideboard cards for this deck because R&D has a couple of people that play Jund, and they're releasing cards that are beneficial and help in bad matchups, like a lot of Thopters. Like, Plague Engineer felt like it was designed for that. Like, they knew it was going to be a problem, so they gave Jund a somewhat moderate but very specific board clear. We punished Elves, we're going to have a lot of the same matchups as Jund, and we're going to lose to all the same matchups as Jund. Tron, Velika, the Amulet Titan that we played were all terrible for us. We do get some interaction, and we have some very specific lines that we can take. But when we're trying to get Gitrock out on 5, and Tron's gonna be casting Karn and Wormcoil on 6 and 7, we're not getting our value there. We also need 2 to 3 pieces to stick on the battlefield when traditional Jund only needs something like a Goyf and back it up in order to win the game, and that's not something our deck does. I think there's a sweet spot for lands, though. If you have sweet tech you want to tell me about, or if you have similar success, let me know. I have tried Heartless Summoning with this build. It's awkward. It turns off all the little dorks. It makes your curve start at 3. There's other things to be done there, but Planeswalkers are very powerful, but the Planeswalkers will in the game. We did have that one game where the opponent scooped it up because we had a Lily of the Veil, a Red and 6, and a Lily Last Hope on the battlefield, and we're playing against Elves, and basically every single one of those cards is just miserable for them. We Tireless Tracker feels like it needs to be a 4 of, but our curve is so high, there's been times where he's dead in hand. Um, yeah, I think that's most of the points that I can cover. I've had 4 Life from the Loams and actually just tried to play a Loam deck. You get hated out far too hard from the yard. I was considering revisiting that with the cycling lands, but that's probably not correct. Leyline of the Void is down in meta shares at the moment, but that doesn't mean that Graveyard can't be hated out easily, and most people don't have a couple of pieces for the new Vegevine deck or Dredge. So you end up getting hit by incidental hate, not necessarily meant for you. It would be cool if there was something akin to their thing rip, but it doesn't target lands. I feel like that's kind of a fair spot, but then Tron might want it. Who knows? A lot of random tangent thoughts here. Field of Ruin and Ghost Quarter. I'm still trying to find a sweet number in the deck. It does feel like Field of Ruin's probably fine for us because we are essentially a 2-color deck, but being able to Ghost Quarter, there were a couple of times where it came up where you have to Ghost Quarter your opponent, Loam pick up the Ghost Quarter, reuse the Ghost Quarter, and then still hopefully recast something after the fact. Ghost Quarter by itself is not very good. It sets you back. Ghost Quartering your own land is something that did not come up tonight, but it is something that I've had to do before because Ghost Quartering your own land is essentially draw 2, and with Get Frog out, like, you get a lot of draws, and sometimes you're just looking for that one specific thing. We did go fishing for a Fatal Push or an Assassin's Trophy. Either way, I'm 13. We do fun stuff. If you'd like to check out some of the other fun things I've played, feel free to check out YouTube. Or if you have something to send me, we have 2 links up here. My schedule's over there on the left. Brad One streams Tuesday, Thursday. And thanks for hanging out tonight. I will talk to you all later.